we are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is PCar Talk.
All right, welcome to another episode of PCar Talk. We're at Mike's Cafe in Tampa, Florida, and got a great episode for you guys. Got a lot of content to go over. Excited to be back in the cafe and not out on scene and location where we're always at, right?
Yeah, traveling. It's fun, but it's not sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it wears you down. Yeah, so let's go ahead and let's get into it right away. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
And let's PCar Talk. So a lot of stuff's been going on, right? With Porsche and, as far as the car sales, and a lot of information's been coming out and all this great stuff. And it's pretty interesting as far as all that info out there, I guess. They had a great quarter. Q1 was good for them.
Yeah, I saw that. Pretty high on the percentages.
Yeah, so let's go over that for a second. So 55,000 units sold, right, in Q1, which is a ton of cars. Like, wow. I mean, from, everybody who's listening and watching, it's not one of those things where Porsche is pumping them out like they're not Honda Civics. They're cranking out, right?
Not Toyotas.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's not millions.
Yeah, and they're just not a mass-produced brand. But that's a pretty strong number, though, for Q1, right? 55. Yeah. And of those 55,000, 35% of them were Cayennes.
Well, we know that's putting actual numbers to what everybody always says. Hey, SUVs make Porsche. Yeah,
that's true. It lets them do exactly what they need to do. So exact units on the Cayenne were 18,310 units. Wow.
Yeah, I wonder how many of those were Cayenne coupes.
Yeah.
Any?
Yeah, probably not. Maybe allocations. I think these are maybe.
That's probably past numbers.
I think these are deliveries. Yeah. I don't know if these are, allocations or waiting for cars. These are probably just actual raw, cars delivered, I think.
That's cool.
Either way, though, super, super strong. Yeah, people still want their SUVs, obviously.
Yeah.
And those are still going strong. I guess that's never really going to end, is it?
No, I don't see it.
But, nevertheless, it is what it is. Let's, congratulations to Porsche. If everybody who's watching or listening, if you missed a race this past weekend, they were in Long Beach. The IMSA race was there. They definitely kicked some serious butt. The 912 car won their class at the top of the class. And, it was pretty awesome that they were able to do that. Earl Bamber and Lawrence Vanderhoof were the drivers of the 912 cars. So congratulations to you guys on that. And then, also, they won at Monza, the endurance race at Monza, and we're glancing through race results, and they hadn't won at Monza in like 7 years. So
I know I saw them racing, but I didn't know they won. That's cool.
Yeah, so it was pretty nice. Good weekend for them. Pretty kick butt on that end, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you actually watched the Long Beach or you were out doing your Volkswagen thing.
Yeah, it was VW split one doing this weekend.
But yeah, it was pretty tough. I mean, they were 1 and 2 for a while, and then getting caught in traffic. The 911 car had to come back a few positions for some of the prototypes. But yeah, Long Beach is pretty tight, and so if you can pass, you got to keep it.
Pretty technical course. A lot of the guys like racing out there too. That were involved in that race out there, and congratulations to Porsche, and they're red hot, man, kicking some serious ass now. And, with the Sebring win and now with this win, that's putting them in a good spot for, the actual overall championship win. So,
yep, they got a good platform, apparently.
Yeah. Funny how that works, right? But let's get into like a kind of a longer debate topic, which is interesting now that we've kind of gone over some factual stuff. And more factual stuff coming, but like our thoughts and theories behind this. So the actual numbers have come out as far as last year's sale, and we've touched on it in prior episodes as far as our feelings and thoughts behind this particular topic. So 40% of the cars sold in Porsche's inventory last year were GT cars.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of cars, right?
Yeah.
So especially after a number we just kind of talked about, you think about a Q1 with 55,000. Let's just use that data for a second, and let's just, obviously times that by 4. So they're saying 40% of those cars were GT cars. Wow.
That's why there's so many everywhere. Cars and coffee, doesn't matter what you do. You show up and there's one, and there's a good chance there's, even if you PTS'd the car,
I guess the confusing thing behind that for me as a consumer and a fan of Porsche, though, aren't these supposed to be limited allocation cars? How can 40% of the cars sold in an entire calendar year be GT cars?
Have they said that, or is that just a norm that's been followed?
That's a great question. I haven't interviewed anybody
I've
at
never-
that level and asked that, but
Yeah.
they do have a cutoff, as far as what they're allowing in
Normally.
allocations. I mean, we hear these stories. I mean, you and I are not buyers at that level, but we hear these stories, and everybody else hears these stories about, well, only each dealership get this many allocations. Well, if they're only having so many allocations, obviously there's a number in mind, right? How many they're letting go. So I'm just filling in the blank between the lines, I'm sure, as everybody else can. There has to be a number, whether it's said or not. It's still happening. So, I don't know. Like,
That's true. Is it all, folklore and dealers just spreading that, hey, there's only 5 allocations here and 5 allocations there? And if nobody can back that up, I haven't heard that. Normally, so for something special like the 911R or something, when it comes to like that, or that 935 that just came out, they release kind of a firm number.
Yeah, like the Speedster, it's coming out. They're like, oh, we're only selling 1948. Obviously, that's the year, and that makes sense. They're like, that's it. That's all that's happening.
70 years, obviously, yeah.
But with that being said, there has to be a number, even if it's not discussed what the number is. If every dealership in North America is only getting 1 allocation or 2 allocations or whatever, well, why is that number why is it so low? Or why is some dealerships not even getting any? Or obviously there's reasons for it, because if you could just place a car, there wouldn't be this mad dash of people saying, well, I didn't get an allocation. I'm on a waiting list. I didn't get an allocation. If there wasn't a limited run, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't
There
heard
wouldn't
that.
be this demand as far as a secondhand market where people are brokering cars and able to flip them and all that other stuff. So, and that's going to lead us into our next topic, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But the interesting thing about that is that's not like data pulled off some like weird website and, in the dark web or something. That's a number come from Porsche. They said that 40% of our cars sold last year were GT cars.
I got to be proud about that too.
So leads me to the next question is, I know you and I consider GT cars. What are they considering GT cars? Is a GTS a GT car?
Ooh, that's a good call. I don't know. I would, in my mind, it's GT3,
I don't think so.
GT4s. Yep. Well, yeah, GT4s, yeah, all that stuff. Which is a lot.
And you know what? It could be included in this. It almost kind of like, not to compare them to Ford, but when they make these claims of the number 1 selling truck in the world, well, they sell 100 million fleet vehicles. So are we considering all of the race cars that get sold too? Is that part of that fleet of 40%? Maybe. We sold X amount of GT4 club cars. We sold X amount of GT3 club cars.
It is customer racing.
Those are GT cars.
Yeah.
They didn't get into the fine net details of that 40%. Maybe that's how they came to that 40%. I don't know.
It's still not half. There's still 60% other things being sold, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, but it seems like a significant run, right? Like, as far as like you hear these things of how difficult it is to kind of ascertain something like that. And we've had this discussion. Yep. We went to Festival of Speed last weekend in St. Petersburg, and we were and we go to all these other events, these PCA events and all this stuff, and we try to like work it out in our heads as saying, well, maybe we're seeing a lot of these GT cars now because people waited for their allocations and they want to show them off, right?
Yep.
So maybe in 5 or 10 years after they've maybe owned that car or flipped that car, maybe they start to go into garages and then you don't see so many of them. As far as like, and what we're referring to is maybe like GT2s. We're like, man, we see GT2s like everywhere. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, we could be spoiled geographically though, right? There may be listeners out there that have never even seen one in person yet, depending on where you live. I guess a lot of allocations are probably going to come to South Florida, a lot to California, certain parts of Texas, probably Arizona. Scottsdale has a lot of money, those kind of areas. And I'm just talking North America. Obviously, other areas are probably getting their fair share of, GT2 allocations, but maybe those are, geographically, there's some hot spots where there's a lot more of them as opposed to other areas of the world.
Yeah, I mean, if you thought about the 997s back in the day, I mean, to see a GT2 was unicornish.
It's funny you bring that car up because I was talking to a buddy of ours before you got there, and we are actually having that exact discussion of like, when was the last time you saw a 997 GT2 in person? I can't even remember the last time I saw one in person.
I know two times that I've seen one in person. That was one at that festival, the speed show.
Yeah, the red one, right?
Yeah, the red one. And then I think we saw one at DRT. But that's two.
Two, and like how much of us?
That's months between each other. And
how many shows have you?
And they weren't at the same show.
And how many events have you gone to?
Several.
Exactly. So I guess my point is, exactly that. So.
I mean, so 40%, that's a big number. So does that now make your PTS selection like, meh? You got to be coming strong, because like you were talking about DT2RS, the one that we saw in British Racing Green, the Reeves, that was cool.
Yeah.
Until I've seen two more.
Exactly, right.
And there's a guy I think it was published in Panorama. I think they did a video on him in a GT3, spec in the same color. And then there's another guy in UAE, I think, has a British Racing Green.
I saw that
well.
one too. Yeah, on the internet.
So I mean, you kind of now it's not even the fact that you get the allocation for the GT car that's now in the 40%.
Yeah,
you get a GT, and you get the allocation for the PTS color.
Yeah.
Because now the guy
no color safe.
Yeah, now down the street,
you gotta, even if you try to get pink, there's gonna be somebody gets pink too. Like they'll get the ruby stone. It's already out there. It's been out there.
Exactly. Or they get wrapped. But I mean, that's what's
you
going to be
pick
the next special level.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, people are going deep into the Porsche old school. I mean, people are pulling like 356 colors out for these cars just to be unique, right? You see Oslo Blue, like 991 GT3 Tourings out there, and you've seen a leaf green one. You see birch. You see all these colors where people are just trying to be.
Even birch wasn't.
Exactly.
Remember we heard this story.
Trying to be the only one.
Yeah.
But which that leads me to what we were talking about as far as the allocations and all that kind of stuff. And so Porsche announced for the 992 itself is saying that, and this is actually straight from Porsche, quoted saying that there's not going to be issues with that model as far as people wanting to order it. So meaning, like, if you're out there and you're trying to order a 992 GT3, for example, in a special color, there isn't going to be this allocation war. That's what they're saying. They didn't use the words unlimited. Whoever wants one wants. They didn't say that, but they just said there's not going to be any problems for people that want one.
Well, they obviously realized the money there, or at least the wants there. But I think
and they did say that, and they used that terminology. Yeah. They said the desire is out there from the customer base based off the 40%, and that's how this ties in. That's where we're going. Like where I was going with that. That 40%, they're using that data from last year or the last run of GT cars from last year and saying, okay, there's a desire for this. So as a car manufacturer, as you know, it's a business for them. At the end of the day, they like being unique. Obviously, they like being boutique, but at the same day, they need to make money. So they're going to make cars. They're not going to make, okay, well, these are only special. And if 40,000 people want GT cars, as a business, you kind of almost need to look at it and say, well, we need to give them what they want. If we're going to sell all these cars, why would we not sell them?
I think that's where they do that. I mean, it's a smart move on their part, obviously, because they're going to make the money. And then you go, okay, well, what makes it special? Okay, well, we have an exclusive option on the GT cars. And that's where it gets to that one of one. But I don't know. I mean,
here's the thing, though. Like with me, like I have a different mindset. And you and I kind of talked about this before, and the people that we run in circles with. I'd have no problems with that, because if you're buying the car because of its rarity, you're buying it for the wrong reasons, right? You're buying it because of what it can do. At least that was the reason originally. And then it kind of turned into this monster of like, oh, I got to have a one-on-one, I got to have this, I got to have that. And I think a lot of people have built this monster up of like, this is what a special GT car is. Well, take all that away. The car's still special, right? From an engineering standpoint, still hauls ass, still kicks butt around the track. It still sounds amazing. It still performs great, regardless of what color it is, regardless of what options that you spec it out with.
Yep.
And I think maybe from an engineering standpoint, I kind of like that Porsche's like taking that ethos of saying, yes, this is a special car. Yes, there's a lot of R&D here. Yes, there's a lot of race technology here. But we didn't set out to make museum pieces for this.
Nope.
This car was designed for people that wanted the car to be able to drive the car, not to buy them and turn around and make $100,000 profit because they got an allocation.
And that solves it by going, guess what? We're not
exactly
gonna do
flood
it.
the market with it, right? And I think that from their standpoint, from a corporate standpoint, I think that's what they're trying to do. Like, and they've been quoted saying that their plan is to do that. They have hired a lot more people or moved more people, senior people in their factory over to their GT performance side of their business. They've openly said that. They're like, we've hired a ton more people. We're doing this. We're bringing our seasoned people in to actually produce more GT cars. So I'm hoping from a consumer standpoint and a Porsche fan, I would love to see that go away. Like, I would love to be able to walk into a dealership if I could ever afford it and say, I want a GT car in these colors, and this is what I want. And then from they say, okay. Instead of being like, well, there's about a $50,000 upcharge on that, and you're like number 10 on the list, and I'm only getting one car this year. So your chances are 0 you're going to get that car. But we'll take a deposit.
That's nice.
Yeah. And but and I'm using that, and I'm saying it sarcastically, but that's what Porsche dealerships are doing to people.
Yeah.
Like, all these people have dealerships all over the place. They're doing that to customers, and Big Porsche is seeing that, and they're trying to take that away. So like, it's kind of like Big Porsche didn't want that to happen, and these little dealerships, I say little, but all these little satellite places that sell Porsches, they've created that monster.
I'd be interested to know how often that happens in Europe.
I don't know. Hey, you guys let us know.
That's a good question. I mean,
I think it happens often, just as often as it does, because I've seen. I mean, you got to be somebody like a Mr. JWW to get your, Miami Blue GT3 or something allocation.
Well, that's the UK.
Yeah. Well, that's Europe, isn't
it?
Well,
I mean, I guess you're right. But I'm in like Germany and stuff where it's no, they probably don't allow. I wonder if they don't allow that, and there's all sorts of rules. But
I don't know. I just think it's an interesting fact, and I kind of like the fact that maybe Porsche's putting their foot down, and this isn't anything. It's new because I mean, obviously, from the 918 program, this kind of came out where Porsche, even this is years ago, that when this momentum started to wave. Obviously, Porsche's not stupid. They knew what was going on, and they're like, look, if you do this, you're blackballed. You buy this car and you don't keep it, and you just do it to move it, you're gone. Now, to be fair, to be part of that program is kind of sketch too. We've kind of talked about that before, maybe not, on the podcast, but in person, where we've had that, like, where you're getting strong arm. They're like, well, you're part of the program. Here's the 911 arm. You got to buy this. This is how this works. Oh, we just got a new GT3 RS. You're part of the list. You got to buy this. And you're like, oh, man, you guys keep coming out with all these cars. I don't need all these cars, man.
It's an or else situation.
Yeah, and then it turns into, okay, you bought it, and you can't move it, or you're penalized. So there's that side of the fence, too, the people that are able to afford those cars, and they're like, woe is me type of situation. It's like, you have no idea how much of a pain in the ass it is to have to buy a 918, a 911R. And I was like, all right, hang on a minute. The fact that you're in that class, I don't want to hear about that.
Sounds terrible.
Because the rest of us are out here just kind of admiring the cars that you're buying. And then you're like, they have the audacity to kick me out of the program after I sold this thing?
Like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Try the other brands. They do the same thing where you have to own, there's a certain amount of ownership that has to happen.
Exactly.
And they're just following suit.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's a way for the dealers. I don't even say dealers because it's not dealers doing it. It's actually corporate of these companies doing that, where you're part of that special list. They are strong arming those people, but it's kind of one of those ways to guarantee they're selling that car, right? Where they make their allocations.
Getting it into the right hands. They're actually doing their profiling, but they're just making sure that this person's going to drive the car and do things that they would want.
See, you say that.
Well,
though.
I mean,
you say
supposedly they would.
You say those things, but just because you have all those money, and we were just talking about that before, a lot of these people are just brokering the car out. They're flipping it. There's so many sneaky ways to do it. It's okay. It's like, okay, well, you can take possession of the car. I'm a trustworthy guy. Pay me the $700,000 for the car, and then when 2 years is up, I'll just sign the title over to you, and then you can have it. But you can just have it now, and and I'll have the money. And
but I didn't really
it's
sell
just paperwork.
it. But
it's in someone else's possession, and yada yada yada.
I'm just taking a deposit.
Exactly. anyways, the point is we ran a little bit off tangent, but the point is I think Porsche's trying to reel this in because it's kind of turned into a mess. And we all know, obviously anybody who's listening to this, unless you've been living under a rock, it has kind of gotten to the point where it was at a breaking point where, and I won't even say this year, I would say the breaking point was actually maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Probably.
Where people were literally like trying to buy allocations out from one another or buy somebody else's allocation. People were selling their allocations. Like, I actually have an allocation. I'm not taking delivery on the car, but if you give me $50,000 for my allocation, the GT3 retailed at, $160 or $150. The dealer markup on it's another $100. So now you pay $250 for the GT3 and you paid me $50,000 just to move into my spot. Like, that kind of crazy black market crap that was going on.
I can't believe that's even.
That was going, like, in 2013 and 14, that was happening. People were getting an allocation and then they were selling their allocation, not even like doing anything with it. It's like, oh, I've got this piece of paper, buy it from me for $50,000 so you can go and inspect the car. It's like, what is happening here?
Yeah, I guess Porsche has every right to do that. Just flood the market with them and be done with it. And then have people that want to drive the cars instead of let them sit.
I think it's the right thing to do, to be honest with you. I mean, how else do you how do you tackle that?
All at once too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like, how do you defeat that animal any other way? I think that's the only way you can do it.
You can't limit it more because that's just gonna make it worse.
Oh yeah, it'll just get more expensive. So you got to go the opposite way, right? You just got to make too many of them. And just be like, okay, they're sitting on lots now. Well, there you go.
It's that $911 versus GT3 touring scenario.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's always going to be, anytime any car, like, obviously they are going to make open limited runs, right? Speedster, for example. Other cars they may make, specialty cars, and they talked about making a safari car. We talked about that on an episode. That's probably going to be a limited car. You can't mass produce a safari car.
Well, I think it actually adds another level of specialty to those cars. Now I don't have a tier before that with the GT cars. Now it's just going to be whatever it is, the 918, whatever the new 985, the Speedster, whatever it happens to be like that is actually going to be a special car. Yeah. Versus it's pseudo special just because it's a limited amount of allocations. I
agree with that. The thing is too, another thing that pisses me off is I'm glad Porsche's kind of addressing this, but I hate the fact that, and this happens with every marque. It happened with the Ford GT where people were like, okay, well, there's only so many allocations. Okay, well, now you got to make a video and you got to write a letter and tell us why you're worthy to buy the car. And oh, by the way, not only you're not going to pay retail for the car, you're going to pay X amount of dollar above what the actual. Why even make a retail price if you're going to do that and just mark it up anyways?
Why not just call it the price it is?
Yeah. But I guess each dealership is going to gouge somebody differently, right? It's like, oh, we're not as bad as those guys in Fresno. We're not as bad as those guys out in Tampa. We're not going to hit you for the 100. We're just going to charge you 50,000 more. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, 50 grand savings.
Yeah, you're a nice guy.
I thought you were going to say you didn't like seeing lizard green because that color. I mean, I think there's so many GT cars in that color.
Yeah, it was a launch color. I don't think that's. I think I'm happy for everybody that got one. To be fair, I think it's not the people's fault that ended up buying the car. I think it's more of kind of like the delivery of them. Maybe they just a lot of them got delivered around the same time.
I know what color I'm going to order. Nobody's going to have this one.
Yeah, and it's not the buyer's fault. It's like, oh, hey, we delivered 150 lizard greens at once all over the country. And it
turns out they all go to the same Cars and Coffee.
It's like, are all of them on social media?
Oh, yeah, they are.
No, I know. But, to circle back, to reel us back in, I think it's a great thing in the sense of, and that's, they're extinguishing that problem. And if you have the money and the desire, I think what it's going to do is deter the people that are trying to make a profit on the car. And I think from an enthusiast standpoint, that's a great thing.
Yeah, we're going to get drivers.
Yeah, driver, bro, right? Or you're going to at least, even if you're not a driver, and even if maybe you don't want to beat the shit out of the car and it is something special,
somebody that appreciates
you really want the car, right? At that point, now it's not a profitability thing. It's a desire thing. You're an enthusiast. You really want the car because you go in almost like doing your research and you're like, well, I saved my money up, or however you allocated your money, or however you ended up coming into the ability to buy a brand new GT3. And you take that special thing and you say, well, great. I don't care if I don't make any money on the car. I'm not buying the car for resale. I'm buying it for me. I'm speccing it for me. I think a lot of that, what we talked about before, people were going in and specking cars, probably not even for their own personal needs.
No. Hey, what do I think is gonna sell?
Yeah.
What's this
Okay,
color? How's this color
carbon
doing?
buckets. Okay, I hate carbon buckets, but I'm gonna put carbon buckets in the car because it's gonna sell. Okay, what's a catchy color? Okay, what part of the country do I live in? What's gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna do this. Oh, what kind of stitching am I gonna do? And something maybe they weren't even picking a car for them. They were looking for a mass quantity buyer that somebody.
They were already past even getting the car. It wasn't even. Yeah, it wasn't
exactly.
Even for them.
And the experience is gone because of that. It's more of kind of like, what's going to make this car sell? So, and I think that's going to eliminate a lot of that. And that's just my personal opinion. Kudos to Porsche for maybe stepping up and trying to address that problem. Because honestly, if they were like, okay, we're only going to make 2,000 of these cars, well, then you just have a fight on your hand again. Everybody's going to, it's just a wash, rinse, and repeat. Same cycle over and over again.
Well, you got to think, too, that they have something on the board long term that where this doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, like we said, what's going to be special is going to be really special.
And I think it should go back to that. Because not that a GT3 is not special, not that a GT3 RS isn't special, but I think, and this isn't anybody specifically's fault, the general public has made that car, overly special.
Well, it's the closest thing that you have to a race car that you see racing these IMSA races.
Yeah. And they're winning. We already talked about that. You win on Saturday or Sunday, depending on if it's a 24-hour or 12-hour race.
Yeah, you sell 40% on all of the year.
Yeah, and then you sell 40% if the allocation's there. However you want to word that. But anyways.
Oh, man, could you imagine Bruma's liveried one just for sale? That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, it's gone from all these different names, but I think it's like Porsche exclusive now, or where it's not even just like PTS. There's like another level, right, where you're willing to wait longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure people have seen it. I think PCA did a little excerpt when somebody took delivery on their GT3 Touring.
The British Racing Green one, yep.
Yeah, the GT3 Touring in Atlanta at Porsche Experience Center. And they kind of did a little video of like how they spec the car. I mean, and it went to that next level, right, where they put wood in it.
Yeah, that wood was pretty nice.
As opposed to like you can't order that, but you can order that. And it's one of those things where
we can do anything you want.
Yeah, as long as you're patient. Yeah, as long as you're patient, and we give us time to basically disassemble the car that was already built, and we can do whatever you want.
That was the crazy thing where they're like, well, we have to build it this way, and then we get it in our department, and then we take it all apart again.
Well, you think about it from a production standpoint, that actually kind of makes sense, right? Like, you're not going to stop the line and say, stop. Okay, don't put the dash in this car, but do this, right?
Would break it up.
Because then the other cars that are getting all that is screwing the whole process up, and they're like, no, here's how it's going to go. The guy's got the money. It's going to run down the line. It's going to get everything. And then it can go over to you guys, and then you can break it down. How's that sound? I'm like, okay.
Sold me.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think that goes back to the fact that I think I agree with that, because that adds another factor, right? If you really want to step your game up and you really want to make it that kind of special and dollars don't matter to you, there's still an option to do that, right? So if you are buying it for those special reasons and you have tons and tons of money and you can go in, you're like, well, I want a GT3 and I want a hammered aluminum dash. You're like, okay, it's going to come out this way normal, and then it's going to go over to this special area, and then they'll do that for you.
Whoever orders that, please send pictures. I want to see that.
Yeah. It's like, take all the gauges out. I want analog gauges back in. I mean, seriously, you could do that stuff if you really wanted to do that. Anybody who ends up doing that, those are my ideas, by the way.
Yeah.
So if you end up doing that on a car, at a minimum, you got to let me drive it.
That'd be one cool car.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you had just crazy money, like, how would you just not retro the car? I would, interior-wise. I mean, there's certain things, obviously, you can't screw with. But the things that you can screw with, like, how would you just not go back to those, all of that old school stuff and put all that in? That would be pretty cool. And, like, you guys with tons of money with no imagination, there you go. You could steal some of those.
Yeah, if you have no imagination, just see us and we'll help you out.
Yeah, I'll spend your money all day, man. I got no problems with that.
It's easy.
I don't have any money to spend, but I'll spend yours.
Yeah.
we say that with our friends all the time, right? Like, I have no problem spending your money.
What do you want? Oh, yeah, you should definitely buy that.
I'll spec it this way.
Yep.
They're like, what? It costs like $50,000 if I do that. You've got the money. Just do it.
Just go ahead.
It's like, you like spending my money, don't you? And you're like, it's not my money. I don't have a problem with it.
So easy.
Exactly. But Yeah. So great news from Porsche in that way. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to come back and discuss a couple more topics.
Enjoying PCar Talk? Of course you are. Connect with us on Instagram at PCar Talk or on our website at pcartalk.com. If you're enjoying PCar Talk, please subscribe and share this with anyone that would enjoy it as well. We thank you for your support. Now enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, we're back from break. Got a couple of things to talk about moving forward to close out the show. I know we've been talking about this and I keep bringing it up, but there has been some spy shots of actual footage of the Taycan running at the ring. And the cool thing about it is it's the Sport Turismo one. So I think that, I don't know if that's going to be the standard car. We talked about that before with the actual Panamera. Like they should just switch to that.
Yeah, but not everybody likes a wagon, though, as much as we think they should.
I think anybody who's going to buy that car should just buy the estate. Like, just do that. Just buy the wagon and move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best looking one. I mean, it takes that roof line and going from sloping down to bring it just a little up.
It gives you the shooting brake thing, but it's with a extra door. That's all.
Yeah, you get it. It's way more efficient.
And honestly, I saw pictures of it. You guys should go look at them if you haven't seen it. Pull them on the internet. It looks pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking it looks like the Mission E, and it doesn't. It looks really good.
Yeah, it looks good. It essentially looks like a Panamera Sport Turismo, just a little bit more aggressive.
You think that's been the plan all along?
I'm sure. And, without a doubt. It's funny because I was talking to my buddy, I think it was Darren at Festival of Speed, and they had the Mission E there just as a display. We've seen it millions of times, but he's just like, I would buy one of those in a heartbeat over any other electric car, And I was like, of course, I think that's the goal, for everybody to go to that.
Selling point, yeah.
Sure. The R&D's there, the fit and finish is going to be there.
The production line is there.
The serviceability is going to be there where you could actually take it somewhere and get it serviced. So I think, again, we talked about electric a lot, but, I just wanted to bring that up because I saw those photos and I was like, wow, I mean, that's a great looking car. And again, I'm not trying to push anybody to get on board with it, but I mean, hey, you need a city car and you need something good and efficient and quiet and it hauls ass. That's the one.
Yeah, it's got the wagon parts. It's probably got more batteries.
Yeah, it looks the business. I mean, but anyways, I just wanted to bring that up real quickly before we switch to, one of our final topics, which will probably take a long time. So we might as well just get into it now. I'm going to ask Aaron the question and let him just run with it for a little while.
We'll see.
So if I'm building a Porsche, and we're going to obviously spiral down every single one of these tangents of what our opportunities are with this, but motor swap on the car, is it still a Porsche?
Well, considering that most of the Porsche is the motor, in my opinion, it's where you get your. I mean, that's the special part. I mean, otherwise, if it was just a V shape or anything else, that flat six, it's where it's at. So I think it takes away. Well, it takes away all those dynamics. Well, it doesn't take all the way. Yeah, I would take all the dynamics out of it for me because it's been engineered to be exactly what it is.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that. That's a little bit of a blanket statement. So let's start getting specific.
Okay.
Right? So obviously, backdates are pretty popular.
Yep.
Say I buy an 80s something 911 SC, and I backdate the car, and I don't even go PML carbs. I don't do any of that. Say I put like a 3.6 in it from a 993, and I do that motor swap. Is it still a Porsche?
Yep. I think you stayed Porsche to Porsche. I think it's still good.
I agree with that.
I don't see. I mean, you improved Plus because they didn't have that technology from that era.
So you're saying, and I'm in agreement with you, but I just want everybody to hear the specifics of this. So if any gamut down the line, if I'm going to backdate a car, I'm going to build a race car, if I'm going to do that, as long as it's flat six and it lived in some type of other Porsche, whatever I turn the car into, if it has some form of that and motor swap in it, still a Porsche, correct?
Yep. Or flat four, depending on, 912.
If you go that way. Yeah. Now, if I LS swap a car,
might as well call it a Corvette.
Yeah.
I mean, I I understand that everybody has some people like V8s, but and there's a weight discussion where it's not really a difference in weight for the engine.
Yeah,
So
the LS motor is pretty light, right?
It doesn't really upset the dynamic that it has, but it's not a flat six. The center of gravity still changes.
Yeah, I would agree. It's kind of a taller engine on that half. So let's play another scenario out. I have a 996, and it's before model change year, mid-year change, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a 3.4. It's not a 3.6.
Ooh.
Nobody really likes that motor a whole lot. I'm not trying to crap on that motor.
The 99.
I'm just saying, a lot of people, 99, 2000. I think it didn't even switch over until mid-year
2001 and a half, I think is what it was.
Exactly, half year. So say you're one of these guys that, you're getting into your first Porsche, but maybe that car is just beat. And your option is either buy a really expensive Porsche motor or go, basement diving and go find an LS and swap in the car. What are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, budget conscious.
Is it still a Porsche?
Ooh. Well, I still think it's changing. I understand that your heart was right there, but I think saving the extra pennies to keep it all Porsche or all of it. I don't think I could do the LS swap. This is my opinion. I mean,
that's what it's for. You don't need to answer for anyone else but yourself. Like you don't need to think about the listeners. You don't need to what would you do?
I couldn't pop my DAC lid and go LS.
Yeah,
as fun as it might be tons of fun.
Yeah, I know you guys are shocked to hear me say this, but if anything other than a Porsche motor that lives inside of a Porsche, it's not a Porsche to me.
Doesn't shock me.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty predictable when it comes to that, and I've been pretty vocal about that. We have a couple. Well, I don't want to say couple. Actually, a single friend who's out there on the fence, and he wants to build all these kind of crazy things to put in his 964, and he's walking down the line of trying not to be my friend anymore because he's like, "Oh, I'm going to put an RS4 motor in this car. I'm going to do this to this car," and I'm like, "You just need to just stop talking, please." And at least not to me.
Yeah. I would just, knowing said friend, I would just check that 4-liter that it could be. Make sure it's built. I mean, because
the technology's there nowadays. I mean, like back in the day, it was like impossible, right? Like everybody, if you talk to somebody 20 years ago and they're like, "I'm going to build a 4-liter," and they're like, "Good luck." I mean, with what King Midas's money and
yeah.
But nowadays, I'm not saying it's not cheap, but I think there's so many other independents that could build the car out. Obviously, it's still not going to be it's still going to be pricey, but and he claims to be able to do that kind of stuff himself. We'll build it out then. Like build a badass car. But anyways, I don't want to I don't want to have a flame session about him. I mean, that's not what this is about. I love the guy, to be honest with you, but he's just so wishy.
No Subaru motors.
He's just so wishy-washy.
It's
I think he needs some Adderall or something to be able to dial it in because he's just all over the map. Like if I see him one week and I see him the next week, I mean, he couldn't be any different about what he's trying to do to that car. And I was just like, man. And I know we preach a love thing, and I'm not trying to be, it's not about, exclusion and all that kind of stuff. But I think it goes back to what Aaron was saying is you're really missing the point. I think
just love the balance that's already built into it.
Yeah, you're really missing the point, with what Porsche's doing. And obviously it's race proven technology. They're winning, still winning. This isn't something that, was a fly by night idea. Granted, the physics of it are kind of funky. They've worked it out. And they've made a brand behind it because of that, because of the uniqueness of it. And I think that's what makes a lot of us enthusiasts, because we do embrace that flat 6 or that flat 4. And I think that's what makes that car so special as opposed to anything else out there, right? As maybe a front engine car or even a mid engine car where it's a V8 and it's turbocharged and it's got all this stuff. And, to be fair, the engine is creeping further and further towards the middle of the car. But, with crash standards and safety and all that stuff, that there's certain things that, distributors and manufacturers can't get around. So maybe they get a pass on that for me. But at the end of the day, they're still staying true. I mean, they could have easily got in this horsepower war a long time ago and put an aluminum block V8 in a 911. They could have made a flat plane V8. I mean, they have the capability of doing it. They've done it. They put it in race cars before.
Yep.
I mean, they have it. Or a flat 12. They've done that, or
that'd be crazy to see a modern flat 12.
Yeah, or the CGT has a 10 in it. I mean, it's not for lack of ability. Like you said it best. It's about balance. And I only bring that topic up because there's always kind of those rogue animals that you see every once in a while. You see an LS and a 911, or I would say even worse, because you got to do a lot of work to get a small block 350, a lot of power out of it.
Yeah, that's true. They don't start. I mean, you're about the same.
I mean, you're screwing with the crank, you're screwing with the carbs on it, or if you're going MFI or whatever you're doing to it. I mean, I've seen, not in person, but I've seen those kind of monstrosities out there, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but the only way I can describe it is obviously they're elderly gentlemen or from a different area of like hot rodding.
Where that was cool.
Where they were chopping up maybe 32 Fords and they were doing that stuff. And, I would say kudos to them for not giving a crap of what everybody else thinks. But I also say, you really took away from the ethos of that car. Why would you do that? I don't know. I don't get it. And then we're just talking about opinions. And I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but it's just one of those topics that was kind of brought up to us a while ago. And it's like, hey, what are your guys' thoughts on this? And I know everybody's shocked about the way we decided to answer that, right?
I mean, so if it was an issue, and you have companies like Singer or Benton or these other guys that are doing these quote unquote perfect cars or restoring them, and the LS was a better choice and was just all out the choice, then it would be done. That would be a thing. There would be a commonality that happens. You put an LS, that's cool. That's what I would have done too, because this motor was just no good.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't right. They missed the boat here on what they were trying to, on what you could accomplish.
Yeah, I don't think
it's just not the case.
It's not for lack of engineering, right? And again, I hate to go back to race-proven technology, but that's basically what it is. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things where the Porsche sings a special song, and if it doesn't sing that song, is it really a Porsche? It's not, right?
No, I mean, I'm still a V8 guy, and that's what I grew up on. But
I think a lot of us did that,
Yeah.
But like those silos exist for those certain cars, because now, if it sounds like a V8, it's not okay. Well, it sounds like every other muscle car, and the Porsche's not a muscle car. That's
true. It's a delineation between muscle car and sports car.
Yeah, it's not
straight line.
You've taken a high revving motor out of a car where you need to drive the piss out of it to get what it can do. It's not a drag race car. Like, you want a light to light car in a Porsche, buy a Turbo S.
Yeah, that's
you want
crazy
neck snapping, acceleration and boost. Yeah, buy a Turbo S, and then you run your LS against my Turbo S factory. I'm talking about factory, and I'm not talking about and see what happens then. Or but I mean, again, that's not what Porsche does. We're not. How many drag racing events do you see Porsche trying to compete in and win?
So they probably could, though.
Yeah, but it's not even their goal, right? It's let's win Le Mans. Like, that's a twisty track. Like, let's go win Sebring. That's racing. That's not, drag racing is the kind of racing
with some history,
but it's not, that's not what that car does. And I think when you take the heart of the lion out of it, and you put something else in it, it's not that anymore, and it'll never be that.
Nope. As hard as it tries. Well, I mean, it's just so many imbalances. Even if weight's the same, there's still so many imbalances that you're not accounting for.
Yeah, and it's ironic. I say, like, I didn't think about this till just now, but I get so many comments about my 964 about people saying it's
true,
an LS, and maybe that's where some of this passion is coming from. I would still have felt that way anyways, even if people, didn't say that about my car. They're like, "There's no way that flat six sounds like that," and I'm like, "Well, it's a built motor, it's one of those things." And people are like, "There's definitely an LS in that thing." So, like, at Amelia, I could hear, it wasn't like negative grumbling, but I mean, a crowd built very, very quickly at Cars and Coffee when I parked on the field, and I literally just popped the back deck lid and like walked away from the car just so people could see. They're like, oh, and you could just see everybody's faces like, oh my God. It's a flat six.
It's not an LS. Well, I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, so if you build your car right or whatever, you're gonna get different sounds out of it. It's gonna be its unique thing past what it was, meant to be.
Yeah, and the funny thing is too, that car, even at different RPMs, it sounds different. At low RPM, it's very deep, but the higher up it gets, it sounds very, very race car-y, like flat six nasty. And the funny thing is, the same person we're talking about before, I was following in a 351 Windsor Pantera. It was in front of me. And at Amelia, there, it's on the golf course, so there's big rolling hills. So the Pantera is at the top of the hill. I'm at the bottom, so he's already crested. They're actually sitting down as they're coming in. And he pulled me aside and he says, man, I thought that Pantera sounded really good. And I told everybody, I was like, man, that Pantera sounds good. And he's like, then you crested the hill behind it because I couldn't see your car. And he goes, it was your car making that noise over the 351 Windsor.
Well, you wouldn't know.
Exactly. So what's that saying right there? Yeah. So you guys that are really wanting to swap a LS in, just build your just build your air cooled motor out. Like if you really want that noise or that performance. I mean, it does all that. I mean, it's just
RS. As much as you can do it and stand it.
Stick as many race parts as you can on it, right? So, and again, that topic isn't made because we're not about exclusion. We love everybody and we love everything you do. And we're just talking about our personal opinions. If you build a car, at the end of the day, what it really matters, it's your money. Whatever you want to do to the car, it's your money. We're just talking about, is it really a Porsche at the end of the day? We don't feel that it is. If you still feel it's a Porsche and you do that to the car, that's fine. We're just giving you reasons why we think it should be the way it should be. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. At the end of the day, it's your money. Do I think you'll regret it in the long term? Like, if you get Porsche, you will regret that decision, I think.
Well, I mean, so do you think it's more the same scenario as like a kit car at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even go that far as saying a kit car because it has a lot of the Porsche DNA, but I guess I have a hard time wrapping my brain around the thought process behind something like that. Like, I don't understand the why.
Well, if you had a 928, I could see that's a lot more reliable. Swap an LS in there and a 6-speed than it would be the original 928 V8 and
I guess
an automatic.
I guess. I mean,
I still get where it's taking what it was or what it was designed to be from what they had.
Well, when it says Porsche on the intake manifolds too, when you open the 928, that's pretty cool too. Like the fact that you open up and you see that little like curly rhino turd looking thing in the middle is a LS aluminum, the intake manifold on that. I don't know. Again, it's just my opinion. I don't hate LSs. Maybe it's just because the way our world works is that LS the world, like the catchphrase, LS everything, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, LS a Miata, LS this, LS that. And it's like, I'm not so like angry about like everything, but I mean, even a Miata, like you're defeating the purpose of that car. Like that's not supposed to be like some monster drag race car. Like that car was supposed to be light, nimble. Yeah, it has a small motor. Yeah, it's always kind of been underpowered, but it was affordable. That was kind of the point of that car.
Yep.
I don't approve of that either. I don't think an LS should go in that car. You want to build cheap power. Like LS cars for me, like for example, I had a 68 C10 pickup truck.
Yep.
Came factory with like a 350 V8, which performed like crap.
Probably 200 horsepower.
Exactly. Like iron block, heavy as crap. Didn't even pull its own weight. That car was LS swapped. Okay, well, that makes sense. LS was made by GM. That was a GM product. Okay, it can live in there. In my mind, that seems like that's okay.
That's a good move. So that's a lateral move. It makes sense.
Yeah, and again, like you want to pull a Porsche crate motor that maybe it didn't come in your car, go for it. It's still Porsche. But if you want to spend that kind of money, it's just, and I know we've been kind of like paddling back and forth, and but I know there's a lot of guys out there who've been to a lot of shows and probably live in all different, obviously parts of the world. We've addressed, all our listeners are everywhere. We've all gone to Cars and Coffee, and every once in a great while we'll see something strange in a Porsche, and we're like, the purist, and we're not purist by any means. We're modded guys. We do all this kind of stuff, and the purists obviously want to hang these guys right there on site.
You did what?
Yeah, I'm waiting for this guy to come back because I got the rope.
We're at words.
And it's kind of one of those things where we look at it and you're just like, well, whatever your fancy is, really, to be, whatever works for you, I guess. But, that we were asked that question, I guess, in confidence, outside of the, Instagram world or any of that stuff, just in our travels of, just random stuff of people like, what are your thoughts on this? And I thought it was a good topic for us to bring about because although they're not common, they are out there.
Yeah, I thought, is it Who's Garage? Didn't he swap his 996 with an LS motor because he had an IMS variant?
And it grenaded anyways.
Yeah.
So, and he's known for doing like hoonigan type of stuff and buying derelict cars and doing weird stuff to them, and
cheapest car ever,
yeah, whatever floats your fancy. I don't hate on the guy. Have fun, whatever, But the ironic part about that is he's owned a couple Porsche since then.
Yeah, he has.
He owned a 911 SC for a little bit that he kicked down the road, and then he bought a 996 Turbo.
And that's still stayed in the stable. I haven't seen it disappear yet.
He still has it. He just recently like wrapped the car or whatever. But the point is maybe he learned his lesson. I don't know. Like, I guess from an efficiency standpoint, to rewind a little bit about him on a specific topic, the 3.4 liter motor grenaded when he was doing a track day. So he thought it would be cheaper to put an LS in it. When he openly admits and throws himself on the coals, it was very expensive for him to LS swap that car after all the engineering that had to be done to the car to support the LS. And then the LS motor ended up grenading anyways in there. So he was saying, well, and he does he plays to the masses about how his dumb decisions and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of this character and this thing that he's ended up building up. But the point of that is he could have just bought another Porsche motor that probably wouldn't have grenaded on him, is where I was going with that.
Yep. The Porsche
for all the money that he spent to get the LS in there.
Well, the Porsche personalities, like the Porsche was probably like, that's not me. That's not mine. Where did this come from?
Die.
I'll show you.
Exactly. Oh, you drop 15 grand on it? Get it out of here. Should have just put that on a Porsche motor. But enough of that topic. I just think that it was an interesting topic to talk about. But before we leave that topic, just one more question I have for you regarding that topic, though. If you take a car, let's say a 914, and we're not talking 914.6, talking like the 1.7 or the 2 liter, whatever, 90 horse, 100 horsepower car. You buy it, and you want to do whatever you want to do to it, and modern swap something, nothing crazy. I'm not talking about put a V8 in that car because obviously it's a mid-engine, it's a small car, car's super light. He's like, I don't even know, like 2,200 pounds or 1,800 pounds, something crazy. Don't quote me on it, guys. We don't need the info on it. Everybody has the internet. We can figure it out, but we're just having a conversation about it. But what if you put a K-Series Honda motor in that car, or maybe a flat 4 out of a Subaru in that car to get more power, like 200 horsepower? Is it still a Porsche?
Still, I don't know. I still wouldn't say it's a Porsche, even though the fun factor is probably exponential.
What if they went with the flat 4, the boxer engine? Would it be a Porsche?
Well, it wouldn't be a Porsche flat 4, but yeah, I mean, it still has a lot of the same characteristics. And I mean, there's a lot more power to be had. Yeah.
I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to say it's not a Porsche, but at the end of the day, who gives a damn, right? It's your car. You do what you want. I just wanted to bring that topic up because I thought it was interesting. But before we close, I want to let you know what's coming up next. This weekend, we're going to be over at Obsessed Garage. I'm sure you guys have checked him out before. He's on YouTube, and he also has a podcast. If you don't know, Obsessed Garage is called that because he's very meticulous with details and with his garage and the way he takes care of his car. Who we're talking about is Matt Mormon.
He's a detailing guy. That's what he does.
And him, Aaron, and I are able to link up. Our schedules meet up. He's pretty close by, about an hour and a half drive from us. So we're going to go up there, and he's got a great setup. We're going to meet with him. We're going to go on his show. He's going to be on our show, and we're going to do a little bit of, talking about everything from Porsche to detailing and garages and, what, YouTube means to him and what it, podcasting means to him and all that good stuff. And just kind of, some Florida guys hanging out and sharing some stuff. And he does some cool stuff with Porsche. They do like a mountain run that he does with all the Porsche
Smokies
guys.
Run.
Yeah, the Smokies Run, where he does all the Porsche guys meet up and they go run the Smoky Mountains area. So we'll be discussing all that kind of stuff, and it should make for a very interesting episode.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah.
Be cool.
You have anything else before we close out?
No, I don't. Nothing.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of PCar Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at PCar Talk or online at PCarTalk.com.